Hi, Fatihah here. Today I'm going to teach you how to build a website, a web page. This is my website. So basically this is the home page. When I click the image, it will appear to another page. When I click again, it will show the example of the perfume. For this one, this is the fresh one. And this one for the floral notes. Alright, so how we're going to build this is by using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So what is HTML? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It uses markup to describe the structure of the web pages. The purpose of the browsers is to read the HTML code. It doesn't display the code, but it determines how to display the document. Now let's see what kind of building blocks are hidden behind this web page. This is a visualization of an HTML page structure. The structure is built up by elements and they are represented by text. All HTML documents consist of nested HTML elements. The nested elements are elements within elements. For instance, these two elements are nested within body element, which in turn nested within HTML elements. Text-labeled pieces of content such as heading, paragraph, class, division, and so on. But I didn't use paragraph here. These texts are not shown on the page, but I used to display content in different ways. Alright, now let's take a look at the elements here. The first, we start by declaring this is an HTML document. This is the root element of an HTML page. These contain meta information about the document. And this element here specifies the title and it will appear on top of the tab here. Meanwhile, this body element contains the visible page content. Now let's take a look at the text. Text usually come in pairs, a start tag and end tag. The end tag is written with a / tag before the tag name and the content of the element in between them. The first one defines a heading h1 content /h1. We can choose if we want smaller heading. The size are varied from h1 to h6. Take a look of this. I use h1 big and h4 smaller. And here h5 and here another smaller heading. However, some HTML element do not have content that are called empty elements and do not have end tag. For example, this element is defined a line break. Also, I use an italic element. Now let's move to attributes. Attribute can provide more details about an element. They are also specified in the start tag of an element and usually come in names like href and value pairs like this. Links are defined with the text and the link address or URL is specified in the href attribute. Href attribute is like a roadmap. It specifies the destination address of the link, while the link, text or image is the visible part, like this. Another type of attribute is src. We call that source. Like in this example, HTML images are defined with the img tag and the image source or URL is defined by the src attribute. The style attribute is used to specify the look or style of an element. This is called CSS, and I will explain it later. Now, let's look the language of the document can be declared in the language attribute, which is English. Not to forget, we actually can group or class our elements together. This is helpful if you want to apply the same action for all elements in a specific group. We can add these elements, but if I want all of these to have the same style, of course, group or class them together. We use class attribute within the value, such as fragrance type over here. Now these elements belong to the same class. We can use CSS to select these elements with the class selector. The syntax for this class selector is a dot followed by class name. Like our class name is fragrance types. As you can see, these elements have the same style. Now the ID attribute. This specifies a unique ID for an HTML element. The ID is a way to reach a specific element in a page. It can be used as an identifier for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. In CSS, there will be hashtag for it. And if in HTML, it is like a bookmark. And for JavaScript, it can access an element with a specified ID by using getElementById method. Now for the CSS, CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet and describe how HTML elements are displayed on web page. There are three types of CSS: inline, internal, and external. For inline, which is done by using style attributes in HTML elements, like this. For the internal, which is completed by using a style element in the head section, like I use here too. And for the external, which means using external CSS file. I actually use internal to make it easier for me to check the building blocks or structure of the coding. But I also do one inline CSS just to show you the difference between them. Look here and here. Now let's take a look at the property and value of the CSS that I use. For the background color, I use a specific color code due to the color that I want is unrecognizable by HTML. Color of the text same goes like background color. For the font family property, it defines the font to be used in our HTML. Same goes with the size of the font or image. When the font size value changes, the size of the text changes too. Now, the last part is JavaScript. It has the ability to make HTML pages more dynamic and interactive. Starting from the tag script, which is used to define a client-side script. Now the script element either contains scripting statements or it is point to an external script file through src attributes. I use scripting statement. So what are the common uses for JavaScript? It's a dynamic changes of content, image manipulation, and form validation. Okay, here I use a clock. JavaScript usually use the document get element by ID. I use clock in HTML. Mine has ID with the value of clock, so it will replace clock here. The get element find the clock elements, and it appears the clock. And that's all from me. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.